This episode of Experiences You Should Have is brought to you by Soul Blends, handcrafted in Oregon from botanicals to bottle, multiple healing balms, salves, and moisturizing products to bring life to your skin. Check out Soul Blends and use the code EYSH to receive 10% off your order.
Waking up in Playa Viva is waking up immersed in nature. Hearing birds chirping, hearing the ocean, hearing a bell ring, and a guy announcing tortugas, tortugas, and coming down to the beach and walking to the turtle sanctuary and releasing baby turtles.
Welcome to Experiences You Should Have, your how-to guide for amazing experiences. I'm your host, Gail Manasco, and today is a very unique episode. Many of the episodes on Experiences You Should Have is really about maybe an adventure experience, like swim with great white sharks, or dive Saba Island, or go blackwater diving, or hike the PCT, or hike the Florida Trail. However, many of these adventures are high impact. Maybe it's a 6-month long adventure, but what adventurers need is also a place to restore themselves. That place to vacation. And the thing is, my audience and you listeners are a unique group of people. You care about nature. If you look, most of our episodes are about nature. And when you think about vacationing, you want to go to a place that also cares about nature and cares about the local community. And so it's a new way of thinking about vacation when you think about regenerative travel. And so I have brought to you David Lethanol, who is the owner of Playa Viva. It's a eco resort in Mexico, Zihuatanejo, and he's also owns Regenerative Travel. You should definitely check it out, regenerativetravel.com. They connect travelers with independent hotels that are rooted in community and actively advance local efforts that enable people, nature, and the culture to thrive. So it's a more conscious way of traveling. And I've seen Playa Viva, the resort we're going to be talking about today, on the cover of Travel and Leisure magazine. They've got beautiful tree houses, and this is a place where you can connect with nature and connect with people, and disconnect from our current crazy lives. Now, I do know that travel is a little bit weird right now as we are still in a global pandemic. So as you think about travel, do so on your comfort level and what that community is requesting from a COVID standpoint as well. Well, let's get on with the interview and talk about Playa Viva, as well as ecotourism and regenerative travel. Thank you, David, for joining me on Experiences You Should Have podcast.
Gail, I'm excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you here. Many of our listeners are adventurers. They're out trekking. They're doing extreme things. Maybe it's skydiving or 6-month through hikes. But what many of my listeners, I think they need a vacation. And what a better vacation than at an eco resort in Mexico. And I am just curious, how do you define an eco resort?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I love the way you set that up, where people need a vacation from their vacation. Um, um, I like to use the term now a regenerative boutique hotel to describe who Playa Viva is, and I think that will help define against eco resort. The question about eco has many different ways of looking at it, right? Some people think, oh, eco means dirt floor, cold shower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then you have the word resort, and well, that doesn't go with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And eco really, I think, relates to a consciousness about your position in the world. So you talk about through hiking, hiking and folks who spend a lot of time in nature really understand the concept of leave no footprint behind, or really looking at what their footprint is when they go hiking, making sure everything comes out with them. In some cases, everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. So, why, where do we move from eco to regenerative? And a lot of this came from uh, my own evolution as an environmentalist and a social impact entrepreneur into becoming a regenerative impact entrepreneur and investor. And that came through meeting a gentleman by the name of Bill Reed, who was part of the Green Build movement, which you see the LEED certification on buildings.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And in meeting Bill, Bill's background was in developing the LEED standard and realizing that even if you're LEED platinum, you're still not carbon neutral. So buildings that are certified the highest they can be are still just destroying the planet at a slower rate than before. And he really saw that based on where carbon was going, that we needed to move into a reversal mode and moving away from sustaining or slowing down to really reversing and regenerating.
Mm-hmm.
And so regeneration is really a paradigm shift of how we think about things. There's a new language to being regenerative. So, you know, sure, we're eco, we're sustainable, we're regenerative, because they're all aspirational in nature, and you can always be more eco, you can always be more sustainable, and you can always be more regenerative. So I'm not sure if I answered your question
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah, but you start to kind of paint that picture of being more than eco. I mean, your dubbed as an eco resort, but you've kind of created a new category here.
And the good news is we're not the only ones that are doing this. Playa Viva is one of the founder of a group called Regenerative Travel, which you can find online at regenerativetravel.com, which is a collection of hotels. I think we're heading into 40 hotels worldwide that are doing this kind of work. And they're great properties all over the world, from Fogo Island in Newfoundland, which does amazing work, to wonderful hotels in Belize, Hamanasi, Costa Rica, and then, hotels in Botswana and Portugal, all over the world. Really great, great properties. So I talk about how once we were prisoners of our own paradise, and now we've met all the other prisoners in their own paradise, doing amazing, amazing work. These passion projects that
Mm-hmm.
people have, and regenerative travel is really set up around the sharing of best practices amongst those properties, as well as creating economies of scale and moving into what I call legacy and liquidity as well.
Mm-hmm. What excites you most about Playa Viva?
Um, what excites me most is when I talk to my staff, team members, uh, such as the head of permaculture, Amanda, who tells me about how she was talking to one of her farm team members, a guy, who grew up in this 500 person community in the rural area. And they are now not using pesticides. They are now using some of the syntropic, biodynamic permaculture techniques that they've learned working with her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that type of cultural shift and change, that paradigm shift happening in rural Podunk, East Bumble, Mexico, that's what excites me. That
Mm-hmm.
we are creating change at a person to person level in these rural communities.
That is absolutely beautiful. You are essentially being the change you wish to see in the world. I know that's a quote that's been quoted many times, but you're actually doing it and you're making an impact, and that's really cool to see versus someone throwing out marketing language. You're influencing the lives around you. Um, that's really
Well,
cool.
I wish I could take credit for it. I think the hotel really serves as a portal to bring wonderful people in, whether it's our head of permaculture, Amanda Harris, our head of social environmental impact, uh, Colleen, or our head of hospitality, Julia Garcia, who's from this community, any one of the staff members that we have, and really even the guests. The guests are really part of creating that change through their engagement when they come on holiday. And that's what's really interesting when people come to travel to really engage with people in the community at a truly one-to-one cultural person-to-person basis and are part of that change. And hopefully it's unilateral, it's bilateral. It's not just us to them, but the part of that regenerative language is a co-evolution,
Mm-hmm.
and so that we're co-evolving together.
So I'm just curious, could you paint the picture of what a day might look like at Playa Viva from what the guests may see, and then as well as paint the picture from maybe what's going on behind the scenes of maybe what the guest doesn't see.
Wow, how much time do we have?
We have time. We have time.
Um, well, I mean, I think I'll just start it out. There's what's beautiful is there's some wonderful videos on our YouTube channel that touch exactly this: a day in a life of Playa Viva. And one is called Sunrise to Sunset, and what's beautiful about it is the sounds that you hear. And I think, waking up in Playa Viva is waking up immersed in nature. Um, hearing birds chirping, hearing the ocean, hearing a bell ring, and a guy announcing tortugas, tortugas, and coming down to the beach and walking to the turtle sanctuary and releasing baby turtles to the ocean. And then, coming back and grabbing a cup of coffee or tea, and then, joining a yoga class and hearing the ocean in the background, or maybe somebody pointing out to dolphins surfing the waves in while you're doing a tree pose, and how incredibly marvelous that is. Hearing the bell ring for meal time and going to breakfast, and the smells of all this wonderful food, the Mexican food, all healthy or Mexican food with a international flair. And it just continues from there. It Playa Viva is really about immersing in nature, and it really changes the rhythm of who we are. We had a guest who was there one time, and they stayed for like 2 weeks, and they're like, you don't really get in the hang of the rhythm of this place until the second week. And they said what they really notice is people come in with this kind of modern trapment about them. The devices are spilling out of them. They're all dressed in black or whatever the case may be, and their hair is all done up. And then by the time, maybe 24, 48 hours before what they call the Playa Valium kicks in at Playa Viva. And yeah, like the hair is kind of just, natural, not done up. The makeup is more natural. The clothing is just flowing, and the energy level just really drops. And you see it in people's eyes. And so I think that's another part of what we're all about in a day of a life is having people go through the connection to place and connecting to themselves. Um, and what goes on behind the scenes is um, making sure that you create space for that to happen.
Yeah.
And a lot more. So
I mean, that's it's really beautifully said. I love how you painted the picture of the bell ringing, and and this may be a place where you can lose your sense of time. You know, if you can take off the watch, you can disconnect and know when the next meal is or what's going on by tuning into the vibrations and sounds around you.
yeah. And losing time is exactly what it's about. It's um, you know, day in a life is when you do sit down for breakfast, that you're not just sitting at table for two, table for four, or whatever, that our meals are served family style. And, pre-COVID, obviously we've made some changes during COVID, but even post-COVID, of people who sit together and break bread or tortillas together, um, and share bottomless avocado bowls together. They they begin to just sit there at the table and talk and get to know each other. And again, they lose track of time. And the next thing you know, they look up and go, "Oh my God, 2 hours have passed," you know,
Mm-hmm.
and make new connections with like-minded people while they're there. Obviously, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you can't, schedule with Johnny to go do stand-up paddle or surfing or snorkeling or fishing or, you know, uh, ride up the watershed in a 4x4 to visit the Gutierrez family and have, them cook the most amazing meal that comes everything from their farm there, and then come down and hike into a waterfall and jump off of a, 20, 25-foot cliff into the right off the waterfall. There's so many things like that you can set your watch to make sure to be ready for. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think we actually encourage people when they come not to schedule anything and to spend the first 24 to 48 hours really just letting go and acclimating to place and connecting to themselves. And then, around the table, hear from people, "Oh, you have to do this or you have to do that," and then schedule it.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely just love that idea. I personally love to schedule things when I go on vacation. I have a spreadsheet and
Don't tell me you
and
have pivot tables to maximize your experience.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. I love a good pivot table, but this sounds like something I should probably do more of in my own life is to maybe get away from the schedule, and maybe some of my listeners are like me, or maybe they don't schedule things, but I am a scheduler. But this sounds like a healthy way to live and to detox and to actually take a real vacation. um, and I know there's many of us out there with some vacation time that has not been used because COVID has jerked that all away from us. But this sounds like a dream. This sounds amazing. Um, so you've mentioned a lot of adventure things, like stand up paddling or checking out some waterfalls. Uh, but something that I've heard about Zihuatanejo is how amazing the surf is. My uncle is an avid surfer, and I know he loves to come to this area for surfing. Do you offer like surf packages or for people who want to learn how to surf, um or you know, get into like the adventure plus relaxation there?
Um, so unfortunately, our beach is what the surfers will call a closeout beach. You can catch a wave in front of our beach. I've got some nice drone footage of Pato and of many other folks, surfing in front, but you're not going to catch that left that breaks for,
Sure, it's not going to be
hundreds of yards.
Chicama. Right, right. It's not Peru, but this could
Well,
be
but
just a fun place to,
we have a sister property, Casa Viva Troncones, which is about an hour and a half away.
yeah.
And another 15 minutes from there is uh, Saladita, which is a beautiful upbreak. Troncones has got plenty of breaks there. And then there's also some surfing you can do in Barra de Potosí near us. And then further out from us, about 6 kilometers, so not that far down, is Loma Bonita, which supposedly has one of the only barrels in all of Guerrero. So, there can be good surfing up and down. And then the further south from us is Papanoa. So we've got a nice little surf guide, Chichimeca, who we can call up, and he'll come with his van and equipment and check with you on what your surf skills and abilities are, and know what the local surf spots are related to where the tides are coming from, and the swells, and head out and match you up. But as far as that point right in front of us, yeah, you may get a little bit of waves in. I'm a boogie boarder,
Okay.
and I love boogie boarding. And what I do every afternoon, about an hour or two before sunset, is I grab one of the many boards that we have available for you there and head out. And we have big waves that break way out in front of us, and you can ride a really long kind of whitewater all the way in and have a blast, because that way, that is, you can count on that.
Yeah.
Um, as a
Yeah.
matter of fact, I had a friend recently, well, somebody who worked with us on upgrading our water systems, Peter, who is a big boogie boarder, and he gave me the wonderful gift of sending me my own flippers now. So I can't wait to get out there and test it out. So,
I
but yeah,
love it.
there's plenty around, just
Yeah.
not right in front.
So when is your favorite time to be at Playa Viva?
So what's beautiful about Playa Viva is it changes over time in the season. So the rainy season for us is August, September. We're generally closed during that time of year. Use that to do all the maintenance and upgrades, so that when you come in October, when we open up, it's brand new again. October, after the rain, it's what I call 50 shades of green. The turtle's height of the turtle season is during rainy season, August, September, and the gestation period is 45, 60 days. So come October, November, there are thousands of baby turtles being released, hundreds or thousands a day, which is just amazing to just see a carpet of marine turtles going back. The leatherback turtles come out in November. Starting December, you start seeing whales breaching, so moms and calves just right off the shore breaching, and that happens through March. The weather really starts to cool down in February, March, and get chilly nights. You need a big, thick blanket, and it's wonderful during that season. And also November, because of the rains and the wildflowers, you get hundreds of different types of butterflies, and many, many butterflies. And so nature is just so beautiful and full of life during that time frame. So, each one has its own time. By April, May, it starts getting warmer, the landscape's getting drier. And so you can see more of the landscape that way. So each one of the periods has its own little charm.
Yeah, absolutely. What a beautiful picture you painted, from the turtles to the whales. I want to see it all. Are those humpbacks that are breaching?
I believe so. Yes, I should know that. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just curious. I love whale watching and seeing them out there. Um now,
There's a group called Whales of Guerrero, which
hmm?
you can probably link to and find, the Whales of Guerrero, which uh, really does work to track and work on education around whales, and then we'll take folks out on boats on kind of marine excursions, hoping to see whales, but you'll see many other things in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you have guests that come and volunteer on the resort to play a part in the permaculture or help volunteer within the community?
Yeah, we really want our guests to get engaged deeper and deeper into the landscape and the community. So it's not just about coming around the table and meeting the guests that are there and extending that community, but it's about meeting our staff, getting out onto the farm, understanding the areas and how we're dealing with regenerating the mangrove where we are, and then bringing you into town and participating with the community. And there are many different projects that happen. So whether it's a yoga retreat or other retreat that's coming, we ask them to do some community service project. We have a bunch of different community service projects we're doing all the time. We have a Colleen, who I mentioned, who does social environmental impact. We work in health, education, and economic development. We've got a whole big project going on right now, which is a regenerative watershed project. We're working on sustainable fisheries. But, you know, there's one guest who's a chiropractor, and during his holiday, he set up to go to the local health clinic and offer free chiropractic. And there was a line out the door of the health clinic when he was there. So we've had retreat leaders bring kids from the community to Playa Viva. They had sound bowls and did a whole kind of sound healing with local kids that just, they loved it. So there's so much that can be done there. I mean, just as simple as when you walk down the stairs from the main area onto the beach, we have recycled bags made from recycled billboards for guests to just take when they walk on the beach to pick up garbage and help out. And then we organize beach cleanups with the kids and local community as well. So it really spans everything and everybody.
That's really beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And so as you just mentioned beach cleanups, how do you offer like your cutlery, your plates, your cups, especially in time of COVID, to reduce trash and plastic?
Well, you know, our plates are beautiful handmade ceramic plates that we buy from artisans near Michoacan, and they're for sale in our boutique. So there's no plastic in that way. All of our cups are glassware. You know, we don't use plastic cutlery. I mean, I think the closest thing we have to anything that you can throw out is if you're leaving and you got an earlier flight, we may make some quesadillas for you to take with you and wrap them up in aluminum foil and send them with you. So there really is an ethos there. I mean, we do a whole waste stream management program where all of our food and food scraps go into various buckets based on if they go to the pigs, they go to the worms, they go to the vultures, or to mulch. So everything gets divided up that way. We're really doing our best to try to reduce the waste streams even up through our supply chain. So when folks come in, no, don't give us plastic bags, use reusable crates to put in vegetables and other things that we're buying. And again, going back to what I said earlier about eco sustainability and regeneration, it's a constant process. We're not perfect. We don't say we're perfect. There's always different areas in which we can improve upon.
So how would one get to your resort, to Playa Viva?
Well, they'd have to go online, book a reservation, call us, do it through chat or WhatsApp or however. Once they've booked a reservation, they'll get a pre-arrival kit that'll help give them all the information they need to know. Hop on a plane, get to Zihuatanejo Ixtapa International Airport in Mexico.
Yeah.
It's if you saw Shawshank Redemption, that's where he goes at the end to Zihuatanejo.
I did not know that.
There
That's
you
funny.
go. Fun fact.
That's a really fun fact.
And we're about a 40-minute drive from there. You'll be met with a sign that says Playa Viva and whisked away in a airport bonded taxi. These days they'll be wearing a mask, and you will too. And they'll bring you to Playa Viva, and you'll walk through our little tunnel and open up into paradise, and you'll be there. And then on the way out, we're all inclusive to the extent of we want it to be like your beach home. So, if you're going to your beach home, you want to be met at the airport by your driver. You want to not have to worry about what you're going to eat. So all your meals are included. You don't want to like be nickel and dime by a water bottle costing you $5. All the water and aguas frescas are included for free. And then you ride back to the airport as well as included. What's extra is going to be bar, if you want to order alcoholic beverages, a coconut or smoothie blended drink, massage, spa massage, the boutique or excursions are all going to be extra. We do include a tip, a 10% tip in it. Folks can tip more, but we just felt it'd be easier to just include that in so there's no issues for folks about whether to tip or not tip. We wish the culture was around just charging more and no tips, but that's the way culture is here, there. We included 2% regenerative trust fee, which is a donation that goes to the work we do in the community. But you can donate to buy a nest, adopt a student. There are many other programs that we do on top of that folks add to that. And then nowadays too, we also offer the COVID test you'll need to get on a plane and get back to the U.S.
Oh, wow. Site. That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, what about the cost? What's the average cost per person?
Yeah, I should know that off the top of my head, but in general, we try to run about $150 to $300 per person with all that included. 2 people staying in a treehouse is going to cost a little bit more. On a retreat with 4 people in a room sharing rooms and they're set up to share, it'll be, on the lower side of that range. And then we also have kind of holiday season, which are going to be, 20, 30% higher, low season, 20, 30% lower. And now we're looking at opening up a rainy season so that folks will know what they're getting into as far as the rain, but still come at an even much lower rate.
Yeah. Now, is it family friendly? Can you bring your kids?
So I would say we're friendly to all friendlies except for the unfriendly. And what that means is, people ask if we're dog friendly, and it's like, yeah, but if your dog, barks, bites, or you don't pick up after your dog, then you're being unfriendly and you're not invited to come stay or come back. We are kid friendly. We were all kids at some point, and we should be able to enjoy places like that. And if you don't like kids, don't come, or come when kids most likely aren't going to be there, which is usually when they're school, or at least these, more traditional times, I should say. And then, we're also LGBT friendly as well, without a doubt. The community is open to it. We're open to it. So intolerant people are the ones that we're not tolerant to. We also, from a food standpoint, we also ask folks their dietary concerns. So we cover vegan. We did a vegan wedding where the entire wedding weekend, extended weekend, was all vegan.
Wow.
Did a 7-course vegan served dinner for the wedding night. We do vegetarian, pescatarian, kosher. Basically, usually becomes a mix of vegetarian and pescatarian, but really cover, gluten-free, sugar-free. We understand that many people have dietary concerns and that we should be aware of it and let them know that, what's available for them and market accordingly.
That's absolutely incredible. And on that note of your inclusivity, what about accessibility? You know, maybe people with limited mobility or are wheelchair bound. Um, I heard you mention stairs earlier.
Hmm.
Do you have ADA rooms or a way to get to the beach?
Yeah, we have one room. It's not ADA, but it has a ramp access to get into it, and it can be kind of retrofitted to be better. We got the ramp going into the room, and the room is completely flat except for the lip getting into the shower, which we can retrofit for folks if they need to get in with a wheelchair. But yeah, we're not, I would say, super wheelchair friendly, and the beach itself is generally not wheelchair friendly. Although, we have a guest who stays with us, who's a nurse who does a lot of work with um, nonprofit organizations in promoting wheelchair access to places. And she's consulted to us in how to kind of make our place more accessible to folks in general. But, Playa Viva is definitely, um, it's remote, it's Mexico, and it's not fully ADA compliant,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
Hmm. Now, what about the stairs? Do you have handrails going down the stairs?
Yeah, I think all stairs or most stairs have handrails, if not on both sides, on one side.
Okay, that's good to know. Um, Now, as far as COVID goes, I know this is a changing landscape. We are recording this in August of 2021. Um, you
It was
mentioned,
supposed to be. It was supposed to be gone by now, right?
right? Now, feels that we're going backwards right now. So you mentioned the test to go back into the US is included.
Yes.
Um,
It's not included. It's a $65
oh,
charge,
okay.
and it basically pays for one test for you and one test for somebody in the community if they want it.
Okay. Got it.
So I think if you go to the airport, it may be like $45 or $40 for the test. So it's
Okay.
slightly more to get it at Playa Viva, but it's much more convenient.
Okay. So, what do travelers need to know in this current landscape about COVID considerations other than testing to come and leave?
Yeah. Well, I think on the positive side, because Playa Viva is on 200 acres, a mile of beachfront, you've got a lot of wide open spaces, and we really don't have air conditioning. Well, we don't have any air conditioning in any room. There's air conditioning in the boutique, and other spaces our staff uses. So because you're open air all the time and you've got very few people, I mean, with 18 rooms when we open up in November 19, maximum 60 people over 200 acres, it provides the space that people need for more, and the outdoorness to be safe and secure. That's the good news. All of our staff uses masks during their work, and the good news is our staff is now, most every one of the staff has had access to a vaccine, and all our staff is getting vaccinated. Um, you know, on the side that we don't control, obviously, is travel.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment you leave your house and the security of whatever transport you take, planes, I think, are doing a fairly good job of with the HEPA filters, and the way their ventilation systems are set up of cleaning the air and ensuring that people are wearing masks on the plane. And wearing masks is still a great way to prevent from the spreading of and receiving the disease.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as I mentioned, when you get to the airport, um, indoor spaces like that with masks, transportation with bonded folks with a mask helps reduce the risk all the way through that chain. But once you do get to Playa Viva, you are outdoors and in limited contact and fresh air. So it makes it a much better environment. And that's one of the things that I think we've seen in the US, at least. Glamping sites where you had outdoor facilities have seen some of the highest occupancy numbers they've ever seen during COVID. And those are the kinds of places, we are the kind of place you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, So you've mentioned about many retreats there. Could someone essentially rent out the entire property to host a retreat or bring their entire family reunion there? Or is it typically usually booked well in advance?
Well, it's usually booked well in advance, but over 50% of the time, it's going to be booked by a group, either by a yoga retreat, a wellness retreat, holistic health retreat. There are a lot of people that come for those types of things and do them at Playa Viva. Um, we're getting more and more weddings, as I mentioned,
Uh-huh.
and we're getting more and more groups coming where corporate retreats are saying we don't want to go to the Four Seasons or the big brand places anymore. We want to have more of these types of experiences, and so we're getting a lot more traction there as well, where we're bringing in a corporate group and doing trainings or doing their incentive travel there as well. So but we want individual travelers, or what in the industry they call fit travelers, Gail. It's really something we like. What often will happen is somebody comes for a retreat. They never heard of Playa Viva, but they trusted their retreat leader to invite them to come to it. They fell in love with the place. They met two or three people there. They all scheduled to come back the same time next year or to a certain thing. Or they came to us and said, hey, can we rent this out for a birthday, an anniversary, a special occasion, and come back for that? And that often happens with us.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely love it. And curious about the ocean temperature when there. I know there's seasons, but on average, what's the temperature of the ocean?
It's a perfect 70 degrees all the time. It's great. I've in all the time I've been there, I've never had to wear a wetsuit or wanted to. It's really, really wonderful. So whether it's January, February, and as cold as it could be, it's still wonderful. And
Mhm.
there's sometimes a year too that night we get the bioluminescence. Oh my gosh! So
Ooh, when is the best time for that?
happens all the time. We were there in December this year, and there was so much bioluminescence there. It was crazy. I've been there when there's meteor showers and you just lie down on your back and you just see, I mean, more stars. And that's another part of the day in a life of is just the, Milky Way is clear as a highway crossing the sky. It's great.
Sounds perfect. It absolutely sounds perfect. Is there any good diving there?
There's diving. It depends on where you dive and how spoiled you are. And I was just in Cabo Pulmo in Mexico. And if you're going to go dive in Cabo Pulmo. It's God's aquarium. It's so beautiful, and the community there has really worked to save that area and create a marine protected area. And that type of work should be done in more places, and we should definitely support the work that communities like that do.
Yeah, beautiful.
But yes,
Absolutely.
you can dive, and
Mhm.
you go to Ixtapa and dive, and there's snorkeling, and there's a nice little video somebody did with a nice little surprise, which I won't ruin for anybody, um, that you can dive to as well. So
Okay. All right. And I'll make sure to include some of these videos uh in the show notes on experiences at youshouldhave.com, as well as link to your YouTube channel.
thank
Um,
you, thank you. And we
now,
try to keep them all short. We did a brand new video that came out. It's called "Why Playa Viva is More Than Just a Hotel." And it's about 3 minutes long, and it really rocks and moves. And I'm really, really proud of that video. So it talks
yeah,
about all the things that we do at the hotel and why it's more than just a place to throw a towel on a beach chair
right.
and order a margarita. Although you can do that too. Although I recommend our organic basil margarita. It's really, really amazing.
Ooh, that sounds incredible. I love a good margarita.
Oh,
I I'm anti-mix, so I
oh,
do mine with tequila,
uh-huh.
triple sec,
Yeah,
a little bit of agave, squeeze
yeah,
of lime,
yeah.
and I do like a splash of fresh squeezed orange juice in it, and that's it.
Well, the recipe for the basil margarita is online as well. You can link to that. And just, yeah, throw in about 5 or 6 leaves, big fat leaves of basil in there and blend that up too. And what's nice about it, it's kind of like a mix between a mojito and margarita. Sometimes a margarita can be too tart and mojito can be too sweet. And this is that Goldilocks drink that's there. And speaking of drinks, another thing that I love is because we were a coconut grove before we were a hotel, we've got a lot of coconuts, and I've become a fan of drinking coconut milk in my coffee in the morning that's freshly made every morning.
Ooh, you had me at coconut and coffee. Sounds delightful. Absolutely delightful. Um, Now, I really enjoyed kind of just seeing in the videos the story of the farm to table and seeing the cocoa beans being turned into chocolate and dipping the banana in it, and I love that. I love seeing food come to life from start to finish. And just curious, do you offer any like cooking classes, or if someone wants to learn how to make homemade tortillas, um, with the locals there?
Uh, I mean, yes, that's the nice thing about Playa Viva. As I said, it's kind of like your home away from home. So if you want to learn how to cook, put on an apron and get in the kitchen with Olga and Inez, and Olga will teach you her secrets on how to lay that tortilla just right on the comals to make it work. And she'll even teach you how to make a mole, which is pretty tough. Another popular class for us is making tamales. People like
Yeah.
to learn how to make tamales. I've we've held kind of cacao. Um,
Oh,
uh,
cacao ceremonies?
we've done cacao ceremonies there, and it was done with the cacao. So we grow our own chocolate on site. So people, we all the members of the retreat all shucked the cacao, and then we made the cacao for the ceremony from what they
Oh,
themselves. So it's kind of like a quilting ceremony thing where everybody's sitting around doing it and then gets to enjoy the fruits of their labor.
it's beautiful. I've gotten to go to some local kirtans and cacao ceremonies here in Oregon, and it's just a beautiful experience. That's
Well, you wait till you come do it at Playa Viva. So,
Oh, I'm sold. I'm ready. I'm ready to pack my bag and come. Maybe right after this spike. Right now we're spiking right now, so I'm waiting a little bit, but and it's your rainy season right now, right?
yeah, we're closed right now. We're in the process of adding 6 new tree houses that are going to be absolutely amazing. And when those are done and ready in early November, November 1st, we're reopening back up to the public for our season 13. To our 13th year of will be our 13th year of operations. Really proud of
Wow.
that.
Wow. Okay, so I'm looking right now at a cover of Travel and Leisure, and there you are. Can you describe what that room is that I'm looking at?
I'm looking at that same cover too. And when I first got the April issue of Travel and Leisure magazine with a photo of the Playa Viva treehouse on it, I thought my college friends were punking me and had used Photoshop to make this up. But yeah, we were lucky enough to be on the cover as part of the Global Vision Awards 2021, which Travel and Leisure did in recognition of the work that we were as part of the founders of regenerative travel and regenerative travel as a movement. But what you see there is what some people would describe as Bamboo Skylab or Tiki Airstream. It's a cylinder of bamboo with a platform and a beautiful bed on it and a in-floor hammock, and it's held up by palm trees. And that is really our first treehouse. It was designed by Kimshasa Baldwin, and it is an award-winning treehouse. It won Hospitality Design Magazine's Best of Show award, and it was called the Wave of the Future. But yeah, this is now an old treehouse, because the new ones, which are also being built out of bamboo, and they're designed by Nomadic Resorts and built. Lead builder on that is Jorg Stam, who did the Green School in Bali. So the only thing I will say is the inspiration for the new tree houses are the manta rays that you see exploding out of the water from time to time in front of Playa Viva.
Mm. Or are they mobilas or are they mantas?
They're mobilus.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Great. That's it. We've got a great episode on experiences you should have about free diving with the Mobila migration in Mexico.
Well, that exact image of the migration is what is inspiring this entire ray treehouse expansion. So
beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Stunning. I'll make sure to include a photo of the Travel and Leisure magazine in the show notes. You have to check this out. You will be booking your plane ticket. I'll
tell you,
yeah. Uh-huh.
The quick story on that was, we were told that there was a photo shoot happening and that folks were going out there, and so the photographer and the model contacted us about staying there. And I sent them a note saying, hey, if you want to stay an extra night or two and take more photos. And they're like, no, we know what we need to do. We need to come in, do one night and leave. And so when the cover came out, I sent an email out to the photographer and the model saying, hey, did you know we made the cover? And they're like, oh yeah, we knew that when we came out to shoot. We just couldn't tell you. So
wow.
Yeah.
It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. And
well, wait till you see the new ones. Okay.
Yeah.
They're gonna blow you away.
Oh,
don't want to set expectations.
I will happily be blown away. And then just also curious, when visitors come, do you have any tips, in trying to be culturally appropriate? Do you have any like top tips for our travelers here?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I think being culturally appropriate is really all about sensitivity and empathy, and not feeling that your Western expectation about the way things should be is the way it should be. And I think a lot of it is getting to know the people that are there on a one-to-one basis. So, our team members don't wear Guayavera uniforms. They don't wear name tags. Our staff will wear Playa Viva t-shirts. And the idea being, and no name tags, so that when, they're serving your drink, they need to learn your name, and hopefully you'll learn their name. Right. Mm-hmm. And you get to know each other on a one-to-one basis, and that you'll feel comfortable asking them about their life and how they live, and vice versa. And so that I think the most culturally appropriate thing is just get to know people at a person-to-person level, if you can. That's it. That's really it.
It's beautiful.
Get in, and get out into the community and explore. Don't, the hotel is a safe and secure, or safer and secure place, but explore, get out. Our little town of, Huluchuca, 500 people, all the watershed, and going up the watershed to all the different towns that are up. There's like 4 towns up the watershed to visit, and then the Gutierrez family. Get out to some of these local places, get to know the landscape. Explore.
Would you say you need a car to go explore?
No, you don't. The trip up the Sierra can be done in a 4x4, getting into town, just arranging with our staff. Johnny, who used to be an employee with us, who we've helped set up his own business, manages a tour company. So you get to know Johnny, and Johnny will show you around, and let him know what you want to do. Johnny loves fishing. So if you want to learn how to throw the mantarraya, the kind of the net out, ask Johnny to teach you how to do it. You don't need a car at all.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Driving is not my favorite thing, so that's pretty wonderful. And love it that you have that airport pickup there too, the ground transport included in the stay. That's fantastic. Um, and finally, just as you mentioned about the tipping, um, and some of the rates included in the cost, but should someone uh, get pesos and be tipping in cash? What's appropriate there?
Um, well, dollars and pesos are fairly synonymous, although if you give somebody dollars, part of what we do with tips is we pull the tips because there are a lot of people in the farm or in security, things like that that you don't see that are part of it. But if if the bartender's taking good care of you and you want to could take good care of them, you can tip in dollars or pesos. And if you want pesos, there are ATMs at the airport when you come in. So just, hey, go to the ATM, take out money. That's the best exchange rate. If you do these exchange rates at airports before you arrive or even after you arrive, the exchange rates are awful. Whereas the ATM will get you the best exchange rate you want.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And finally, maybe if there's some travelers who can't fully detox, and maybe they still need to be checking email or hopping on calls, how is the cell reception, and is there good Wi-Fi?
So the Wi-Fi password, which I will tell you now, is disconnect to reconnect. That's lowercase d, lowercase r, with a number 2. So we try to remind you in your connectivity what you should do. But we realize that some people can actually disconnect better if they can kind of check and see that there are no fires and that they're not as needed as they think they are, and can be away. And we're lucky that we actually just had a fiber optic connection come right by where we have a point-to-point connection in town to Playa Viva. Playa Viva is 100% off-grid solar for energy, and the phone connectivity, or now internet connectivity, comes point-to-point from a connection we have in Huachuca, about 3 kilometers away. So yeah, you can get connected, and you can have plenty of bandwidth to watch that Netflix show if you want to, or have that Zoom call if you need to.
Perfect. Fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like to add for our listeners?
I think it's that, regeneration is a paradigm shift. And coming to a place like Playa Viva is definitely about thinking about how you take your holiday a different way. And if this is right for you, or you think it may be right for you, come on, try it out, because we think we'll change the way you holiday for forever, and then you'll want to go check out all the other regenerative travel destinations throughout the world in the process, and hopefully engage other people in traveling that way.
Beautifully said. So listeners, it sounds like we need to take a trip to Mexico and go check out Playa Viva. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing this experience with our listeners. I truly appreciate it.
Gail, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for all your wonderful questions. And thanks to your listeners who are listening to you and are interested in coming. Thanks, Gail.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to Experiences You Should Have podcast. And if you are thinking about planning that vacation, definitely go to playaviva.com, and also check out the regenerative travel site, regenerativetravel.com and help you vacation in a more conscious way. And if you are wanting to plan an adventure, scroll through the episodes on experiences.yousshouldhave.com and find that perfect adventure as we give you a how-to guide to make amazing things happen and break down what is needed to go live adventurously and to do that bucket list experience you've always thought about. So definitely go check out previous episodes. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please click subscribe. And if you love the podcast and you are listening on an iPhone, click on that purple app and please give us a 5-star review and tell us why you love experiences you should have. And if you know of a unique experience around the world that can be replicated, then please reach out to us at experiencesyoushouldhave.com, click contact, and tell us about that experience. You never know, it may become a future episode here. Thank you so much for listening to Experiences You Should Have podcast. And until our next adventure.